come up and do do good, but in a different car, like a different platform,
Yeah. I'm still Jesus. I'm still Camp Masanori here.
Uh-huh.
I don't know, dude. I feel like all of these guys are kind of aging.
Yeah.
I think out of the young gunners, it's going to be Masanori, dude. Like I'm going to say it over and over and over. Because Naoki is also like in his 40s, Daigo is up there. I don't know how old he is.
Yeah, it's kind of like ageless. I mean,
watch, he's like 22. Yeah, he's 41. And just to fact check here, Naoki is. This isn't updated.
Is that even going to be able to be found on the internet? He's like such an obscure person, like only in the world of drifting.
Well, 4 years ago he was 35, so he's 39.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I think, I don't want to say that there's a cap for your age, but I mean, I'm looking at Nomuken and like those kinds of guys that you do just kind of get aged out of drifting, I feel like, and then it's up to the younger generation. And so that's kind of where I stand, is they're both getting older. They've both competed for a long time. Like Naoki was just kind of late to the game in terms of D1 competing, but he's been around, so it's like, I really want to look ahead. And when I do that, it's like Masanori is like the dude, I think, that's going to be really popping off. And I'm not just saying that because he's a local guy. I just think he's immensely talented for his age.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at. Now you've got a bunch of talking points on here. You said, does it deserve more limelight, parentheses, 20-year-old cars? What does that mean?
Well, it's just like, and I kind of touched on it with Daigo. Daigo he's getting factory backing. Usually, he had that 86 that I think, Toyota provided to him. That Supra he's got now was provided to him. I'm sure with some, but everyone else, not everyone else. There's a couple of A90 Supras, but what other car is there? And I think it's because drifting isn't in the limelight. So there's no companies looking at drifting like, okay, we need to support this. Let's give these guys cars to drive to make our cars popular, because they don't give a shit. Like, what car? Maybe the new 400Z might be there. I heard that they're going to start the GTRs that are racing in Super GT right now are retiring. And I don't know what Nissan could replace those with other than the 400Z or whatever. Yeah. So maybe we'll get some love for those in drifting, but there's no other platforms in drifting. I mean, the Q60, there's like one of those. There's no other new platform. So, and you were talking about, letting the young guns come up and do it. So imagine you're like a kid and you're watching like drifting and you see them drifting in, let's say, a Sylvia S15 or whatever. You're like, oh, that's cool. I want to get into that. And you go try to buy one and it's like 20, 30, 40 grand, like, since drifting isn't that popular, it doesn't make that much financial sense. It's hard for people to get into. It's hard for companies to back, it's like the snake eating its own, what's it? Snake eating its own tail or whatever. Like, because it's the barrier to entry so high, a very specific type of person is going to get into that. And I feel like a lot of car companies aren't catering to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I think it's all about return on investment. The only two companies that are really pushing hard for drifting are Toyota and Ford. At least when you're talking, I mean, I'm talking here in the States specifically, with FD and stuff, like you really only see those two in terms of team cars. I know Forsberg had his Z's for a while. But I think it's about return on investment. Like, it's not a huge audience. It's not a huge payout kind of sport to begin with, even at a competitive level. I mean, that's why a lot of times you'll see, you put on here consistency versus flash in terms of like skill, but it's also the same way in terms of longevity about, which drivers are going to stick around and which ones are you just going to see for a season. And this has been talked about forever, but it's like, the cost to compete in these events, like unless you have major backing, is so expensive that it's like, I just can't see it, man. I can't see the reward for a driver or for a team or whatever justifying spending tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars to back it.
Yeah. Well, so does that mean that you don't think drifting could be in that limelight as like a major sport, or it should stay kind of like a niche thing? Like it's niche and it's not niche. You know, there's series on like every continent in the world right now, but they're all driving old ass cars because it's so expensive to do. You can't afford to take something new in there. You know what I mean? I mean, old ass platforms. I'm sure they throw a ton of money in there, but
Yeah,
if
I
it
don't.
got like the attention like some other sports get, like road racing and whatnot like that, maybe we get a chance to see a revival. Companies wanting to make cars that are rear wheel drive manual cars for this. You know what I mean?
Right. I don't think it'll ever get to that point. I don't
Yeah.
think. I just think the nature of it. I mean, this is just my opinion, but I just don't think it's ever going to get to like a mainstream level. I think FD and D1 are about as big as it's going to get.
Hmm.
Just because most people have been exposed to drifting in some form now globally, I would say,
Hmm.
especially in America, like most people know what drifting is. I've got like old coworkers who are, I shouldn't say old, but 40 and 50. And if I tell them I have a 240, they go, "Oh, you like into drifting or what?" Like most people just know by common reference, even if they're not into
Hmm.
cars. And so it's like I feel like if there was going to be an audience, a bigger audience, it would be here by now, unless we change something, some aspect of the sport where it's not. I was thinking about this as I was watching Minami actually, because I was like, drifting from the outside looking in is so repetitive.
Hmm.
We are invested obviously because we know the drivers or the courses and we care about the sport, but for people that don't care about it, I can only imagine, you know drawing that connection like we do for NASCAR, where it's like, oh, they're going to turn the same way. It's like drifting is very similar, it's just that they crash more, but it's like what it's going to look like, and generally speaking, it's like a 15-20 second run and then it's over.
Hmm.
um you would have to find a way to keep it engaging for a longer period of time, I feel like, to where it's not so repetitive. Um, but even then, yeah, I don't know. I just don't think by nature that it's going to become a mainstream sport by any means. So it's like I don't know if a whole lot is going to change from where we're at now.
Yeah.
Which that's a blessing and a curse, though. I think, because it's like I think it's got a realistic barrier of entry. I don't think it's expensive. I'm not saying that by any means. Like it is expensive. However, you do have regular people competing in Pro Am
Hmm.
and and FD. Like it's a lot, but it is feasible. And like you said, it's not like they're racing these super unachievable cars. They're taking 240s and RX-7s and 86s and like shit that anybody can go and buy and build themselves in their garage generally. Yeah. Until you get to
Yeah.
like
I'm.
super high
Yeah.
level. And so I like it in that aspect because I do feel like it is an attainable sport to participate in. So as a participator, I think it's fantastic.
Hmm.
But as a spectator sport, I don't see it going anywhere bigger than it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like the statement that you made about it being attainable was more true, obviously. I mean, we've beat this horse till it came back alive as a zombie and then beat it again. But it's not getting any cheaper. So, 20 years ago was attainable. Even, just getting a stock running car you can get in, but nowadays that's less so. So, and
Right.
I'm not under the illusion we're gonna sit here and like come up with a master plan to make, taking
Uh-oh.
drifting global,
We're coming
but
with it, dude. I was brainstorming already, man. Let's get it. No,
but
it is. Yeah.
I don't know. It's just something that's on the horizon, especially with the overall vibe of the world nowadays. It's like, oh, eco bullshit, this and all that stuff. Like we're really going to be here in 500 years to reap the benefits of this stuff. But
Right.
anyway, I don't know. It's just brainstorming, especially from my perspective as someone that's not in it actively right now. And since I didn't take the bull by the horns when I had the chance back in Masawa, I'm, on the outside looking in like, okay, what's my best way to get in to, really start doing this? And the bottom line is I can't afford to. So
Right.
it's like,
Yeah.
I have a passion for it and I'm going to follow it. And I'm always going to follow it because I love the cars and the culture and everything. But it's like, how can I responsibly get my foot into the door of this?
I think in the States it's actually a little bit easier right now than it is in Japan because of how
Mm-hmm.
expensive Japanese cars are getting.
Mm-hmm.
However, in the States, you still have Mustangs and Camaros and Miatas and E36s. You have rear wheel drive platforms that may be not ideal, or it may not be the traditional drift car route, but it is something to get your foot in the door. I mean, even like C5 Vets aren't that expensive when you compare them to most swapped 240s. So, I think it's a little bit easier here to find something that's rear wheel drive that you can drift. It's, like I said, not ideal, but in Japan, it's like everything that's rear wheel drive or manual is expensive. I mean, even Altezas are getting like 8 to 10 grand, and I bought mine for 1,700 6 years ago. So it's like, they're going up. I mean, everything's going up. It's not just, it's like a checkbox for Japanese people. It's like, is it rear wheel drive? Is it manual? It's going up. Like, there is no cheap option anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I saw a R34 GTR today or yesterday that sold for like 400 grand.
Jesus.
Like, I think it was like 800 landed in Australia. 800,000 like all told landed in Australia. It's freaking wild, man. Like,
yeah, for sure. For sure.
I mean, but I don't know. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer anymore. This is supposed to be a celebration of one of the greatest courses ever in drifting lore.
And I think Ebisu as a whole kind of overshadows the little bit of sadness that came from that event. I mean, it's like, if Ebisu's still around and kicking, I think that's exciting in itself, because it is like a drifting landmark globally.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's not. I'll be sad when they close the doors, if I see that in my lifetime.
Yeah. I mean, it's like a pilgrimage, like that drifters, like any real drifter, they take the pilgrimage. That's like our, what's that place that Muslim people go to? You know what I'm talking about. Mecca. It's I'm sure this metaphor has been used, but it's literally drifting like drifting Mecca.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. As always, everybody, thank you so much for listening. We've got episode 12 coming to you shortly here. Darius is leaving me for a month. That being said, follow us on social media. Like I said, we've been getting messages. It's awesome reaching out and talking with you guys. I'm still waiting on these friggin' sticker orders to come in, and then we'll have merch up, and I'll post it as soon as it gets in. Social media is at Sincerely Japan. Email is sincerelyjapanpodcast@gmail.com. And send us questions, send us talking points, whatever. We wanted to make a quick one here just to talk about Ebisu.
Yeah.
And did you have any flowers to give out, Darius? I skipped that.
I don't have any flowers today, but I do want to just say thank you to all the people that have been interacting with us and, kind of, fueling this fire. I'm sure you guys already know. I said, like 10 times, but me and Jared kind of do this on the side as a hobby, and getting people interacting with us and like, basically appreciating what we're doing really, gives us more motivation to keep going. So
yeah, it's
as long
awesome.
as you guys keep listening and keep, tuning in and interacting, we're going to keep on doing it.
Hell yeah. 100%. No, it's been great. Anyways, thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you next time.